Hello there, and welcome. My name is Calliope, and I'm going to be conducting your treatment today. How are you doing today? I see. I hope by the time you leave this sensory resurfacing treatment, you feel even just the littlest bit better. So, tell me a little bit about what it is that you know about sensory resurfacing. Not too much. Okay, that's just fine. It is a relatively new treatment, and this is coming from the Green's Academy of Spirituality and Metaphysics. And they've recently just finished up doing the studies on it, and we're one of the first places that are offering it as a treatment option. Let me grab some of our literature, as it is able to explain a little bit better than I can. Let's see. Sensory resurfacing is a therapy designed to expand the body's senses of perception by targeting 4 types of cutaneous receptors. The aim is to resensitize the skin bit by bit to address the muted, numb feeling that can linger after, for example, traumatic incidents. This therapy can last weeks to months, as the goal is gentle, controlled increments of exposure to maximize efficacy and minimize regression. So essentially what that means is, in certain situations, let's bring back the traumatic incident example. Whether it is consciously or unconsciously, some people pull their consciousness, their awareness of their body closer inside themselves, so that when they are being touched, they can't feel it as much. It has that sort of muted, or muffled is another word that has been used to describe it. Kind of this muffled feeling. And this is used as a survival mechanism, and it's there for a reason. And during said incident, and even just a bit after, there's a reason that it is there, and it can be beneficial. The problem lies when it lingers. So then our skin, our senses are dulled, and we don't experience things nearly as, I don't want to say intensely, but maybe not as vibrantly. The feel of a very soft fabric, for example, or the textures on the concrete. All these little things we slowly lose and don't regain. So this therapy aims to help bring back some of those pleasurable sensations and different textures in order to get you back into the edges of your body and not pulled into the recesses of it. How we are going to do this is by using a few different types of touch. The very first one that we're going to do is going to involve our nociceptors. And our nociceptors are colloquially called the pain receptors, but these can also interpret itching and also stretching as well, skin stretching. So for example, if we move like this, we can feel the stretch in our skin. And itching is kind of pain. It's more of a sensation the body doesn't know what to do with. So it's not just pain. Although the word nociceptor actually comes from the Latin word nocere, which means to hurt. So in order to elicit the nociceptors, we are going to use just this simple little pointed tip. Now, even though we've called it a pain receptor, we don't actually need to use pain. What I'm going to do is just poke around the skin. And you can see with this, it's not breaking the skin, it's not painful. It's just this concentrated area of pressure that these nociceptors can pick up. Now, I am going to be doing this just on the face and the upper extremities. Our first session isn't going to go beyond that, but subsequent sessions, if you choose to go through with them, will expand to all over the body. But this way you'll be able to see what it is that I'm doing, and I also will be narrating what I'm doing as well, so you're aware of everything that's going on. Think of it like a level 0 sort of introduction to sensory resurfacing, right? Okay, any questions at all? Very good. So if you'd like to begin, I would love to start with the little tip here and just poking it a little bit along the face. Is that okay? Alright, so from this point onwards, I am going to need to be touching you, but I will be telling you what I'm doing the whole time. Is that okay? Alright, so we're going to start by just doing a little poke, 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 just like that. How was that? Certainly bearable. Yes. Okay. Poke. 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 Good. We are going to be working with the areas that the trigeminal nerve governs. There's 3 branches. We have the frontal, we have the maxillary and mandibular branches. So I'm going to come right over here and poke, 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 just like that, real gentle. Poke, poke, poke. And how does that feel? Is the pressure okay? Good. And you can feel that quite clearly? Perfect. Poke. 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 Good. Poke. 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 Wonderful. I'm going to go a little bit at random. Poke. Poke. Good. If at any point this is uncomfortable, do let me know. Your comfort is of the utmost importance. Poke. 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 Good. Good, and now I'd like to do this just along the hands and the arms, if you don't mind. Yes, just a few pokes here and there, just like we've been doing, if that's okay. Poke, poke, poke. Good, just a few pokes here and there. It's interesting how when we activate the nociceptor, it almost feels like tossing a pebble in a puddle of water. You have the initial contact, but then you get that little bit of kind of a ripple effect. So even though I might poke right here, when I let go, I can feel that rippling just a little. I don't know if that's something you experience as well, or it might be something that we work up to. Now with activating these nociceptors, I tend to go more on the outside of the body rather than the inside. So believe it or not, it feels a little more tender than the face does. And that's what some of the study participants had noted. And I can see that as well. Sensation's a little duller on the outsides of the body as opposed to the inside. The inner forearm, the inner upper arm. Good. Very good. Now we're going to be working with the tactile corpuscles, or the Meissner's corpuscles. These are a type of rapidly adapting mechanoreceptor, and it responds to a slip and a light touch. And we're going to be using a sweeping sort, or some have called it a gliding sort of touch. And this corpuscle, this mechanoreceptor, was named after one of the men that discovered what the corpuscle was. And this was a man named George Meissner. And there was another man, his student, named Rudolf Wagner. And we are going to be using the hands. And I also have a couple other types of objects we can use if we feel we want to try to switch it up a little. Okay? So, I'm just going to be using my fingers here to give you this sort of very light, almost no pressure sort of touch, if that's okay. Alright, if it does get to be too much, I do also have some cotton balls and some cotton rounds. I'll give you a little bit of distance if you'd like. Yeah, let's just try it out. So, just sweep. Just a little bit of sweeping motion here. Just a very, very light, gentle sort of touch here. And if I'm going too fast, if it feels overwhelming at all, let me know. The slower we go, the less chance we have of possible regression. Good. Just very, very gentle, barely touching sort of touch. Good. And on the arms as well, just this very sort of gentle. And this is where I can bring this more into the inside of the arms, into the palms as well. It's just very soft pressure. Okay, might be a touch overwhelming. That is just fine. Let's go ahead and bring out a different kind of tool then. These have been instrumental for those who don't want to be necessarily touched by hands or fingers, but don't mind the distance, the sort of intimate distance. These are buttery soft little bamboo cotton rounds. And we'll just start with one of them. So I'm going to just hold it steady here while using this to very gently, glide over. If this is okay. Okay, a little better. Yeah, just let me know. Let me know if we need to switch to something different. Very soft. Very soft. Extra gentle. Extraordinarily gentle. Good. Good, and even under the jaw here a bit. As well as over the hands and arms. And almost just feel that little border of the bamboo cotton round. And how is that? absolutely. That is no trouble at all. I have a backup plan for most situations. So, this is even a little less intimate in that we can use just this little bit of cotton for doing this gliding bit of touch. Just like that. How was that? Okay, much more comfortable. Very good. Don't be afraid to speak up about it. It's not a problem at all. There is a reason we have so many backup plans. And that's because one person's level 0 may look wildly different from another person's level 0. And we can adapt. And then on the hands and the arms. Okay, this is fine. That's just fine. Luckily for our other sensation eliciting tools, they are all going to be pretty hands-off, so there won't be any more physical touch. And now we're going to be moving on to our lamellar corpuscles. So this is another rapidly adapting mechanoreceptor. And there's a little bit of a funny background with these. So they're known by a few different names. We have the lamellar corpuscle, we have the Pacinian corpuscle, and we have the Vater-Pacini corpuscle. So it was originally discovered by Abraham Vater and Johannes Gottlieb Lehmann in 1741. And then it was lost and rediscovered by Filippo Pacini in 1835. So almost 100 years later. So that's where we get Pacinian, and then we also have Vater-Pacini corpuscle. So this one is going to be more about pressure and vibration. For pressure, since you were not vibing so much with the physical touch, which is a-okay, I have a couple different things we can use instead. So we can start with just this simple wooden specimen stick. And I also have this rubber mallet tool that I use with my tuning forks. So we're going to start with the specimen stick, and I'm going to be using the side of it or the blade of it here to do some firm pressure. Let me know if it's too much or if it's too little, alright? We're just going to press, 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 is that? Press, 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 press. Do we like the side better? Or the flat of it? Okay, maybe more the flat. That's just fine. Just some firm, static pressure. And on the skin as well. This one might respond a bit better to the side of our wooden stick here. The arms and hands and fingers can take a little bit more pressure, but I can use the flat on the inner parts of the arms as well as the palms. And then we can use our mallet for its more intended use, which is vibration, or eliciting the vibration. So I have a 256 hertz tuning fork, and we're going to use this for some vibration. I'm going to strike the tuning fork and place it on different parts of the face and arms. Let me know if it's too much, too overwhelming, too anything, okay? It's a very comfortable sort of vibration. Good. Put that along the bones in the arms. Be able to detect it a lot easier. It has this warm sort of feeling to it, warm vibration. Now we're going to work with the thermoreceptors. And there's a few different types of thermoreceptors. We have bulbous, bulboid corpuscles, as well as free nerve endings. They all have some sort of thermoreceptor sort of mechanism, but we are not going to focus on any one, and instead we're going to elicit both the cold and warm sort of feeling. And I'm going to use a different tuning fork for the cold part. This one we haven't warmed up, but the metal is going to be quite cool to the touch. And I'm just going to lightly touch around the skin. And I like to start with the cold first, because that means we end with the hot. And this sort of warm, tingly feeling is much more pleasant to end a session with. Do you feel that sort of cold feeling from the metal? Okay, and it's not too much. Very good. And how's the distance? We're doing okay there. Very good. Just a little bit of cold to wake up the receptors a bit. Leave it on for a couple of seconds before moving on. It's not so cold that it's painful or even very, I don't want to say surprising, but it's not shocking. It's a better word. It just has a sort of radiating coolness to it. These can retain that sort of cold quality quite well. They're very multi-purpose here. We use them for all sorts of sensory lab and different sort of studies. And our last type of sensation is going to be using this warm globe here. I've had it nestled in a warm towel, so it's not going to be wet. It's not going to slip around. It's just going to have very gentle heat. Very gentle. I'm just going to hold this along the face. This is a wonderful tool for both the hot and cold sort of sensations. There. It's a little more pleasant than having one of those steamed towels. I do love a steamed towel, but it can make you feel a little sticky afterwards. The sort of dry heat's a little better. We use these sometimes for breaking up the tension in a muscle for some of our other treatments. So you can roll it around on the skin. And when we're working with, for example, oil, let's say if we're on the back, and it doesn't really create any sort of mess, and it's very easy to clean up. And you feel the heat just very gently sinking into the skin. Good. Good. It's not too much, even here on the inside, the forearm. Excellent. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Just running it all over the skin, not staying in one spot. Just delivering a tiny bit of pressure, but mostly the soothing warmth to melt into the tissues. And that's how you finish a treatment. So, that was our level 0 sensory resurfacing treatment. Now from here, there are quite a few ways we can go. We can focus on specific types of touch. I do like to have more of a variety in each treatment, but sometimes we need to take a step back and get a little bit more into our comfort zone. And then sometimes focusing, for example, on pressure, vibration, and temperature feels a little bit better than gliding or the bit of pointed pressure. So you call the shots ultimately. We just have a few different kinds of journeys that we can start with, essentially. So you are the ultimate decider on how we do this. This is all tailored to you. All right? So if you do wish to go through with another treatment, you can give us a call. And right before the treatment, we do a little mini consultation, give you a little bit of what kind of plans we can go with. You tell us a bit about what you're looking for, and we get a little creative and make something that works for you out of it. Okay? Wonderful. I truly hope you enjoyed this sensory resurfacing treatment. I hope we can work together again sometime, and I hope this brought some therapeutic benefit to you as well. Thank you so much. I hope you have a whale of a day and a good rest of your night. Goodbye now. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really appreciate it. I create primarily medical, alternative medicine / pseudoscience, and personal attention ASMR roleplays. If you want to check out a specific category of my videos, my channel playlists have everything from sci-fi to historical to even fantasy videos. If you want to support my work, consider checking out my Patreon profile in the description box, where I offer early access to videos